Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another segment of Jake's Takes. Finally got that right. I keep saying Jake's Take instead of Jake's Takes. I've actually been working on that, but wanted to give you an Auburn basketball update and talk a little bit about the league around as well. Alabama's got some good transfers. You look at Vandy. The SEC's really taken over the transfer portal. But you know what Bruce Pearl has been able to do, not only recruiting, but in the state of Georgia. I mean, in Atlanta. You look now... bringing in Walker Kessler, the 7'1" center, the North Carolina transfer, a guy that, during the recruiting process, and he's a 5-star McDonald's All-American, all this stuff, Auburn felt really good about the whole way through. And really right at the end, he went on a visit to North Carolina at Chapel Hill and ended up committing, surprising everybody, including his parents. So that was one that Auburn felt kind of spurned on. And we put out a prediction literally, over a week ago saying that we thought Walker Kessler to Auburn was a done deal. It went back and forth in a lot of different arenas, social media. We know how that goes. He ends up sticking with that choice. And again, we're going to make a pick and stick with it. But what you're getting as a player, because I want to talk about him as a player. All right. And again, he didn't have stellar numbers at North Carolina. I'm going to get into that in a second. But before I go any deeper, I do want to give a shout-out to our partners at betonline.ag. Want to give them a shout-out because they do such a great job. The online casino is always open. They're always playing. They're going to throw the sharps out there. I know the Masters just ended. We got more golf coming up, but you got the Major League Baseball season. I'm really going to start putting out some picks in Major League Baseball. Going to dip my hand in that, see if we can't transition from literally being in fuego during basketball season into baseball season, into football season, and see if we just can't stay hot. We're going to keep dropping that out. But head over to betonline.ag today. They've got parlays, teasers, pleasers, however you do it. Just head over there and tell them Jboy sent you. But back to Walker Kessler, because I want to break him down, then the lineup, the way it looks, a few hypothetical situations, and then the SEC in general next year. You're getting a guy that, yes, he averaged, I think, 4.5 points last year, shot around 50%, didn't take a lot of threes. But a lot of that is who was there. You look at the depth chart. And a lot of that was the system that was in place. Because basketball is such a different sport in that, and in football you want to go the right system and this, that, and the other, but it's a lot harder, in my opinion, to fit a round peg in a square hole in basketball as opposed to football. There's a lot less positions, this, that, and the other. But Walker Kessler is coming into an offense and a system that wants to run, that wants to have everybody shooting the three. There's freedom to shoot the three. What does that bring? That brings confidence. What does confidence bring? More makes, or at least more attempts to have a chance to get more makes if they're capable of it. And the kid's capable of shooting. He's really capable of being a successful three-point shooter. He needs to speed up his shot a little bit. But on the other hand, when you're 7'1" and you're shooting from 8 feet and you have the ability to jump, and that's another thing that he has, it's going to be tough to block it. To me, I think you're going to see him used from the three-point, the perimeter, whatever they want to call it, almost like Anthony McLemore. And it just going to have to add another element to defending Auburn, because it's just like football in a sense that if everybody's good and everybody can shoot, you can't bracket anybody. Like if you got more than 2 good receivers, you can't bracket everybody. You can't shade everybody. You can't double everybody. Eventually, you're going to find that matchup, which it's a game of matchups. Now, his post game, I think he needs to get a little stronger in the weight room. I think he needs to get a little better at boxing out. If you look, even in his highlights, he's kind of reaching over people. Just being 7'1", and that's great. But if you can match that 7'1" body and be able to be a fundamental box out player down low and be physical, he's going to have to do that if he wants to play in the NBA or have a legitimate chance and not just get a shot because he's 7'1". And I think he will. You don't play for Bruce Pearl unless you're going to rebound. I mean, even Shareef Cooper rebounded last year. So I think that's an element he can improve on. And from a roster standpoint, you look at length, and we talk about it all the time in a lot of sports. I mean, you legitimately have a chance now to have a 5 out there that's 7'1", so a 7'1" center that can move, which is a big part of his game, and Jabari Smith, who's legitimately 6'10" with a huge wingspan at the 4. I'm not a mathematician, but I think that's, close to 14 feet of human being down there. And Auburn blocked a ton of shots this year, but I mean, it's a tree festival down there. I wouldn't be surprised if people started going to their dorms in Christmas looking for Christmas trees. And when you have that, it changes the way people can try to attack you. You can drive if you want, and it's all going to come down to rotation and help, and they're going to have to go over that, and they're going to have a really good chemistry down there. But from a length and size standpoint, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. And you parlay the offensive game of Jabari Smith, which everybody knows how I feel about him. We've had him on the show multiple times. He's a good friend of mine, and I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be the number 1 pick in the 2022 draft. And you match those two guys and let them play off each other, who you going to bracket? Who you going to double? Can't double anybody. So he brings that element. Also, Kessler is able to run. He's not one of the trees that you see that can't move, that can only do things with his hands above his shoulders. This guy can bend. This guy can adjust to block shots. This guy can catch the pass. Let me say that again, because I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough. He's a big man that can cut and catch the pass. Why is Drew Timme so good? He has a great fundamental game of this, but when he cuts, he's going to catch the pass. Not only is he going to catch the pass if it's low, if it's high, if it's outside, if it's inside, he's going to catch it and finish it and probably get an and one. So that's a huge element that he's going to bring. Transition defense. A guy that's able to be the trailer and knock down the three. So that's what he can be. And for people that say, oh, well, he only averaged, 4.5 points. It's his freshman season, guys. True freshman season. At that level, at the highest level in college basketball, which that's what North Carolina is, in a really good basketball conference, even though Duke was down this past season, it takes these guys time, unless they're just freaks of nature, and there are those guys. I mean, you look at, Anthony Davis, Zion, there are those guys, but they're very few and far in between. It takes them a second to get their feet wet. That's why you saw him come on at the end of the year. And again, you look at the depth. You look at Garrison Brooks and who was in front of him, Baycott, guys like that. Experience is king. Now you're coming into a place where they're expecting you to be the guy at center. And listen, that's not saying he's doesn't have to work hard. It's going to be given to him. But let's be realistic. I think Dylan Cardwell is going to make a big jump. But I don't think it's going to be enough to be able to overtake Walker Kessler. Those guys are at least going to split time. And that gets me to the roster, because a lot of people have asked, all right, give me your projected lineup for next year, and there's different hypotheticals and ways to look at this. And there's 2 open scholarships. My math is correct, which I think it is. That's without somebody leaving. If somebody does, there's still time. And I think there's a chance a guy might, if you look at the way this roster is kind of building. But with the 2 open spots right now, if I had to project the lineup right now, and I think they're going to add at least one more, but with what they have right now, you still have a hole at the backup point guard, because asking Zep Jasper to be the starter at the 2 and then instantly go be the backup point and just play the whole game, it's not feasible. I think asking Trey Anderson to try and play the point as a freshman is asking too much. Or excuse me, Trey Alexander. Which would be great if it was Anderson. We could call him Mr. Anderson like the Matrix. But having Trey Alexander and asking him to play the point as a true freshman, it's asking too much. He's a 2. He's a scorer. The kid's a walking bucket from Oklahoma. He's literally a walking bucket. So you have a hole at guard, and I'm going to get that. But right now, obviously, Wendell Green was a big pickup, the Eastern Kentucky transfer. And listen, I understand the Shareef Cooper comparisons. Their game are similar. Shareef's got a lot more potential. But there are some things you look at and you go, man, that guy can really score. He can drive. He can drive and finish at awkward angles because he's not a huge guy. And he's tough. He's got that bulldog mentality at the point guard. He can go draw contact but not be out of control. To me, he's a Severe Wheeler on steroids a little bit, the point guard from Georgia. I think his offensive game is better than Severe's. His three-point shooting is better than Severe's, and his range is better than Severe's. But he's also a sophisticated passer, and he's not a guy that's going in trying to get his. He's very kind of poetic in how he goes about playing the game, as in he's going to take what's there. Now, is there some holes in his game? Yes. I want to see him defensively in this league at that size. That's why having those trees down there helps when you're playing against bigger guards that can drive, and now they can't just take advantage of you and go to the paint and get free layups. That hurt Auburn a lot last year. Not only because they didn't have a ton of depth down low, but they were kind of out of control down low. Dylan Cardwell, true freshman, Stretch to me still has not found it. I do question his ability to play at this level, and when I get down to the bottom of the roster, I'll get to that. But you got Wendell Green, who's going to be an effective one. He's going to be a good point. You've got Zep Jasper, in my opinion, right now will start at the 2. He's got experience. Like I said, Trey Alexander's an unbelievable player. Has a chance to have an amazing career. I think he's an NBA player. But you're going to have Zep Jasper at the 2. What does Zep give you? I think his three-point shooting is going to be better. But he's a guy that can score off the bounce. But the thing I like the most about Zep is his defense. I mean, he harasses guards. I think you're going to get a lot of live ball turnovers. You ask what's a live ball turnover? It's a turnover that's forced that doesn't go out of bounds, that the play keeps going, that gets you in what? Transition, which is exactly where Bruce Pearl and his staff want you. So I look at Zep at the 2. At the 3, it's got to be Alan Flanagan right now. And last year, Alan Flanagan started out on fire. I mean, he was moving up draft boards. And he's as big as Okoro is now. I think people forget that. And they're kind of built similarly. Now, he's not nearly the player Isaac is. But his potential is there. And then he just fell off a cliff in the second half, which surprised me. And I think he would tell you the same thing. But I expect him to come back better. Obviously, being a coach's son and having the ability to have that experience on a roster that will have a decent amount of experience, but he's got SEC experience. And speaking about experience, if you're having trouble sleeping, you're experiencing bad sleep, you're tossing and turning, joints hurt, ache, whatever, you need to go to SundayScaries.com. That's SundayScaries.com. Sunday spelled as it is, Scaries, SCARIES.com, and use the Jboy promo code. You get 25% off. That's JBOY. You get 25% off at SundayScaries.com. And if you don't like it for some reason, which you will, whether it's the gummies, whether it's the drops, whether it's the strips, however, you get 100% money back guarantee. But you're going to love it. That's SundayScaries.com. Don't forget to use that Jboy promo code and save 25%. That's a quarter off. We'll take that, especially in this economy. But looking through, we're past the 3. And I'll get to the backups and kind of what I think we're going to see in a second. But you get to the 4, it's got to be Jabari Smith. He's got to play the 4 or the 5. But with Kessler now coming in, I think it's Jabari Smith. We all know what I think about Jabari Smith. So you've got him at the 4. Then I think you're going to get Walker Kessler at the 5. Even without a guard that I think they're going to get, that's a pretty good starting 5. You've really got everything checked out on the list there. That's a talented starting 5. Now you look, you say, who's going to be the next guard they're going to take? Right now, I still think there's a good chance that Scoot Henderson ends up at Auburn in this class. I think there's a good chance. The G League is coming late. We all know how that circus goes. You know, it's different when you're recruiting as the G League. They can offer money. You know, and in the NCAA, nobody offers money. We know that. But it's a totally different animal. It's a totally different animal. But I still believe he'll be in this class. I know academically he has set himself up to be able to reclassify and enroll early, which that would be huge. To me, I think he would be your starting point guard over Wendell Green. I really do think that. That's how talented I think the kid is. I think he would come in and start over Wendell Green. And a caveat on Wendell Green, I forgot to mention, he has 3 to 4 years of eligibility. Yeah, I think the reason they took him over Xavier Pinson, and I think they did, was that Xavier Pinson's going to be a one-and-done wherever he goes. Now he's going to LSU. We know he just committed. He'll be there 1 year. Now you get a guy that you can get for multiple years that's really talented, that's going to fit into your system. It's going to fit in the culture the way you want it. So I did want to throw that in there about Wendell. So if they get Scoot to reclassify, which I think that's still the most plausible thing right now. I know there's a lot of talk on Ty Washington. Baylor just offered as well. I think Auburn's in the fight there. But I haven't gotten enough information to want to put out a prediction on Ty Washington. Would he be a great pickup? Yes. Obviously, he'd be a great pickup. But Scoot, to me, if you feel like Scoot's going to do it, I think you cannot turn that down. I don't think you can turn that down. And by turn that down, I mean waiting. Saying, all right, well, you know, you're kind of hanging us out to dry. For some guys, you just wait. You hold that spot. So if Ty ends up going to Auburn, which I don't think is the main thing right now or the most probable thing right now, I don't think you can foresee Scoot reclassifying. That doesn't mean he's not coming to Auburn. That doesn't mean he won't play another year of high school, but I don't think you'll see him reclassify. Now, I did get a whisper in my ear that, you know, there has been some contact with Mac McClung and Rocket Watts, the point guard transfer from Michigan State. Now, the Rocket Watts information, I wouldn't put too much stock into that right now. But if you do start to hear about that, it would not shock me. But Mac McClung, well, I do think there's been contact. I don't think there's a good chance right now, and I do on purpose, right now, that he ends up at Auburn, and I would take Scoot over him. I'm sorry, I would. And I don't think it's close. Again, Mac would be there for 1 year. Scoot, most likely going to be there for 1 year, but I think Scoot's ceiling is incredible. I mean, he's a guy that can he is, and some people will get upset at this, he is a better Colin Sexton. He is. I'm going to tell you right now. As an offensive player at that age. Now, Colin is starting in the NBA. Colin Sexton is elite and was a better defender, I think, at this point in his career than Scoot is. But from an offensive game-wise, from a shooting standpoint, Scoot has the higher ceiling, in my opinion. And if Auburn were to add Scoot Henderson to this class, if he were to reclassify, and this is according to my friend Jay Phillips at Auburn on Twitter, y'all know, I believe if Scoot Henderson were to reclassify and come into this class, it would give Auburn the number 3 ranked class in the country with 3 signees. Trey Alexander, Jabari Smith, and Scoot Henderson. Guys, listen. That class is stacked. And you don't even have enough players to have a starting 5. So if that were to happen, it would be unbelievable. And I think there's a good chance of that happening because they do have to fill that other guard spot. Now, if it's not Scoot, I think you do look at Ty. I think you look at Matt McClung and possibly Rocket Watts. I think that's the way that it's going to finish. And when you add that element, Auburn's roster is complete, and they'll still have a spot open. Now, do I think there'll be a transfer? Because you look at the backups. Jalen Williams coming off the bench as a 6th man should win 6th man of the year. Hands down. No doubt. Being able to rotate him, and you can put him at the 5. You can put him at the 4. People ask me, okay, is JT Thor coming back? I think it's unlikely right now that JT Thor comes back. I think it's unlikely. Some guys' circumstances are different. And I don't want to get too deep into the waters, but some guys say, I'm going to be here for 1 year. Because you remember the JT Thor commitment kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. He went on an unofficial to Auburn, never officially visited. It was between Auburn and Oklahoma State, and he really shocked a lot of people by picking Auburn. Was there a caveat in that, hey, you only get to play 1 year? I understand that. All right. Let's do it. Possibly. Do I know that for a fact? No. So I think it's unlikely that Thor comes back. But if he does, let's just say, because this is all hypothetical, if he does, could you imagine a lineup where you had JT Thor at the 3, Jabari Smith Jr. at the 4, and Walker Kessler at the 5? It's going to be like the Globetrotters out there. But I don't think Thor's coming back. Now, would they welcome him back? I think they would. I think they would. But saying that going under the auspices that Thor's not returning, you got Jalen Williams coming off the bench. You got Dylan Cardwell, who I expect to take a big step going into his sophomore season. I like that kid's upside. And you know he's not going to have a problem coming off the bench. He's going to give you good minutes. He's going to give you effort. He's going to be a better rebounder. He's going to understand his defensive positioning more because he did what a ton of true. And again, you got to remember, this kid did not play his senior year of high school. He had to sit out. So last year was really getting thrown into the fire. This kid is going to be better than Austin Wiley. Let me say that again. Dylan Cardwell will be better than Austin Wiley before he leaves, because I don't think he's a guy that's going to go early. And his game translates. He's just got to calm down a little bit. He's got to understand it a little more. We know he hit his 1-3 of the year, the turnaround 3 that shocked the world. The shot heard around the world. Got a better three-point percentage than Steph Curry right now at 100%. But I like that kid's game. And then that leads me to Stretch. I would not be surprised, and again, I don't want to get ahead of the kid, and I haven't heard this from anybody, but I would not be surprised if Stretch ended up transferring from Auburn. He'd be a great pickup in the Sun Belt. I just don't know if he can play at this level just athletically. And people say, what do you mean? Like, his wingspan's this, he's long and all this. Yes, but just from a smooth standpoint, from the ability to be able to catch the pass, from the ability to be able to have a good post game and be a reliable scorer. I just don't think he has. Then defensively, he's got experience on Dylan Cardwell, but he's making the same mistakes. He's out of position. He's fouling. not understanding the defense. So is he going to leave? I don't know that for a fact. But it would look like that to me. And if that were to happen before the season, that opens up another spot, which could make things really interesting. But heck, with the way UAB and South Alabama recruit, I wouldn't be surprised to end up at one of those two places. And again, not saying anybody's been contacted. You can't right now. And Coach Riley and Coach Kennedy don't do stuff like that. But if he did get in the transfer portal, I would not be shocked to see him in the Sun Belt somewhere. So that's really kind of where I see the roster. I mean, obviously a huge turnaround, and it really makes you think, and I've said this, that with Walker Kessler deciding to come to Auburn, NCAA probation, I don't think you're going to get it. I think you may have, Bruce may have to sit a couple games or something, something small. Maybe that extra scholarship maybe get taken. Maybe that's why they'll hold it. But I don't think you're going to get any postseason ban. And I do, before we go, you need to head over to ebay.com/sneakers today. They've got an unbelievable selection, old, new. If you like the vintage, whatever your look is, go to ebay.com/sneakers today. They got a team full of authenticators. They're going to make sure everything is right, from the tongue to the laces, the whole shoe. Whatever goes in the whole shoe, the box, it's going to be what you ordered in a timely manner. That's ebay.com/sneakers. Head over there today and tell them that Jboy sent you. And also, if you enjoy what we're doing, if you're enjoying the predictions, and we have obviously been right on a lot of them, we're going to keep putting out what we believe and what we hear, regardless of what anybody says. And a lot of people are saying, well, Walker Kessler's going to North Carolina. Do you still think he's going to Auburn? Do you still think he's going to Auburn? If the prediction doesn't change, guys, we're keeping it where it is, unless I get information that it's not. And going through this process, and some of the amount of hate we've received from certain places, you know what I'm talking about, it's almost comical at this point. It's almost comical. But we appreciate you guys. If you want to donate, go to the jboyshow.com, hit that PayPal support button. We have Venmo as well. You can find that on all our social media. Make sure you give us a follow. Subscribe on our YouTube channel. Got more great content coming. Going to be breaking down some more SEC teams in the transfer portal. Alabama with some big pickups. Noah Gurley, the Furman transfer, that's big. Their roster, you can see it fluctuating. I think they're +1 right now, maybe even +2. So at least one person's leaving, and I think we got a good idea who that is. Got some great football content coming. We are simulcasting A-Day. What does that mean? I am going to be sitting in the studio. All right, we can't show the games, obviously, because of licensing and copyright and all that stuff. But I am going to be watching the game and breaking down what I see while you watch it. So if you're watching it, go to our YouTube channel, bring us up. You can turn the volume down on your TV and just hear me talk about it, because I'm going to talk about it from a coaching perspective. What I'm seeing, going to do Auburn and Alabama's. I believe Alabama's is at 1. Auburn's is at 2. Going to be talking about that, what we're seeing, the brand new offense from Brian Harsin. Are we seeing any changes from Bo Nix? So if you want to watch a real breakdown of the game in live time, come to the Jboy Show channel on YouTube, Auburn and Alabama. And again, if we can do more, I know we got more the next weekend after that. We probably will. I know there's a couple of big ones as well. So make sure you check us out. Go on TV, watch it, turn that volume down, and we'll break it down. You can ask live questions too as well, especially during the commercial break, so I can actually watch what's going on in the short halftime that they have. So make sure you check that out. We appreciate you guys. It's been another episode of Jake's Takes, breaking down the Auburn basketball roster and new commit Walker Kessler. Check us out. Appreciate you guys. Talk later.